Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to draw and shade this portrait using graphite pencils. If you put your reference photo next to your drawing paper, it's easier to look back and forth. I also draw a few guidelines to help me get the right proportions. I always start with the horizontal lines of the chin, nose, eyebrows and hairline. Those should be 3 equal spaces depending on the angle of the face. And then I add 3 vertical lines just to help me place the eyes, and from there on I start the sketch. You can find a full material list of everything I use under the video. Now, because you are drawing from a photo, or actually anything you draw from, you should try looking at the outline of everything. So you won't draw the details yet, but only the lines and shapes of everything you see. Always try to draw what you see and not what you think you see. If you look at the horizontal line of the eyebrows, you see that one eyebrow is higher than the other. That's because of the angle of the face. So the eyebrows aren't on the same height if you think it should be like that. It is easier to draw a face looking straight forward because it will be symmetrical, the eyes will be the same size, the eyebrows will be on the same height. So drawing a face in this angle is more challenging, but it's all about practicing. You don't have to get the sketch right the first time, just practice with it and be determined. Also, don't be too hard on yourself. Finished is better than perfect. So try to keep on going, so that way you can look at the whole sketch and look back. If you are satisfied, that's good. If you're not, then try to think of what you will do different the next time. What went wrong, and then try again. And maybe again if you need to. Take your time and enjoy the process. Also, keep looking at your reference photo and try to look for lines. For example, this is how I check where the nose wing is, and the corner of the mouth is on the same line as the left side of the iris. Or here you can see the eyebrow, it's on the same line as where the ear starts. So that's how you can be sure that your drawing has the same proportions as the reference photo. If you want to learn more from me, the real-time tutorials are on my Patreon account. There you will be able to follow along step by step. I show you all of the techniques I use, and the reference photo and my sketch are available to download. If you'd like to join, you can go to patreon.com/emmykalia or click on the link under the video. Here you can see that I'm correcting this eye and later on the other one, because they looked a bit too wide. So you might not see that in the beginning, but once you are almost finished with your sketch, you could step back and look at your sketch and the reference photo. See if you like how it looks. You can even double check by measuring with your pencil or with a ruler if you like to see if your sketch is correct. Another great way to see if your sketch is correct is by taking a picture and then look at the picture and then compare it. You can also turn the picture upside down, because that way you will just look at the lines and shapes. Then you can compare it to the reference photo and see if you are satisfied. If you see something off, you can correct that and continue. That's why it's important to sketch with light pressure, because you want to be able to erase and correct. When you're satisfied with your sketch, you can erase the guidelines and start the shading. I start the shading with an HB pencil with light pressure, and I'm going to build up the layers gradually. Don't use hard pressure, otherwise you won't be able to layer. Or even if you make a mistake, then you won't be able to erase that easily. I even use the kneaded eraser sometimes to erase a bit of the graphite to create a highlight on the face. So try to shade using light pressure. If you need to darken, switch to the next pencil and add another layer. For this portrait, I used Derwent graphite pencils, the HB, 2B, 5B, 7B, 8B and 9B. So you will start with the lighter pencils, the HB and 2B, and then build up your layer, switching to the darker pencils. After every layer of graphite, I use a blending stump or soft tissue to smoothen the graphite layer a bit and also to create smoother transitions. When I draw with graphite pencils, I actually always use Bristol smooth paper. But since I started using watercolors and having some watercolor paper at home, I wanted to try graphite on watercolor paper. So here I am using the hot pressed version. This is smoother than the cold pressed watercolor paper. It's fun to try different materials, different paper, see how the graphite works, and see if you like the end result. You can also try using mixed media paper. Using different materials gives you different results. So if you like your drawing to be very smooth, then use Bristol smooth paper. But if you like having a bit of a texture in your drawings, then you could try using hot pressed watercolor paper or Bristol vellum paper. It's also a bit more textured than the Bristol smooth paper. Now to add the brightest highlights, I use a white acrylic marker. It's easier to use this than to shade around the highlight and try to leave it white. You can also use a white gel pen or some acrylic paint or gouache with a small brush. These brightest highlights will make the eyes pop and really make a difference. I always spend a lot of time on shading the eyes. The eyes are the most important for me in a portrait. If you want to draw realistic, you want to make sure you have the midtones, the shadows and the highlights. That's what will make your face look round. Now I move on to the nose and continue shading with light pressure. First with the HB and the 2B, and then the 5B for the shadows. To make the nose look round, you will also need the midtones, shadows and highlights. Look at your reference photo and look at the values you see. Where do you see the shadows? Where do you see the highlights? Recreate what you see and your nose will also look round. If you're a beginner and you find it difficult to shade the nose or the lips, then practice with it as much as you can. Draw and shade a lot of noses from different angles. Do the same with the mouth, also draw it in different angles. Use reference photos and try to draw what you see. Pay attention to the shadows and the highlights. The more you draw, the more you will improve yourself. Now onto the rest of the face. You see that when I shade, I hold the pencil more to the back. That way you shade with the side of the pencil lead instead of with the tip. You will get a more even layer of graphite this way. And don't forget to use light pressure. After putting down some graphite, I use the soft tissue to smoothen this all out. The soft tissue is really great for this. If the layer isn't dark enough, you will just go over it with another layer. And continue this until you have the right value. When I draw hair, I also pay attention to the midtones, highlights and shadows. You don't have to draw each individual hair strand, but draw these sections of hair and think of each section as a shape while you follow the direction of the hair. Also, don't forget to add some flyaway hairs. I create some of them with the pencil eraser and some of them I draw with the lighter pencil. Now you just saw me using a black colored pencil. When I draw with graphite pencils, I always use the black pencil to add the darkest values. The graphite doesn't get dark enough. Using black will add contrast and make your drawing look more realistic. You don't want your drawing to look flat. Now that I have shaded the hair, I look back at the face and see if I have the right values. Because in the beginning the face might look darker, but then once you have shaded the hair too, the values on the face can look lighter. So that's when I add a bit more graphite on the cheek and forehead, just to make it look rounder. So when I'm almost finished, I make a picture to see if I'm satisfied, and then I go back to add some final details. I'm happy with how this turned out, even though I'm using other paper than I usually use. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a like, and if you have any questions, leave a comment under the video. Also, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss any new videos. Thank you for watching.